It's also incredibly important that we pass this one big, beautiful bill, which is the largest tax cuts in American history. And that's why the White House and the president himself have been in touch with lawmakers all weekend long to get this bill passed. And they are working very hard to do so. We are very well aware, the president is very well aware, that this bill needs to not only pass out of the Senate, but it needs to go back to the House. And we need the full weight of the Republican conference to get behind this bill. And we expect them to, and we are confident that they will.
That was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt urging Republicans to stay unified on President Trump's big, beautiful bill before the self-imposed July 4th deadline. A vote could be taking place anytime during the Senate's vote-a-rama. Again, we've got these live pictures up for you. We're going to keep watching the Senate floor. This has been going on since 9 a.m. yesterday. Right now, Fox News is reporting that Vice President J.D. Vance is heading to the Senate right now. Senate Democrats are using their floor time to rail against the Republicans. Now, they're slamming the mega bill for what they call devastating Medicaid cuts. The House Freedom Caucus warning they will not back the Senate's version of the bill because of the lack of spending cuts. I want to bring in New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, good morning to you. And, you know, I just mentioned, I'm sure you heard in your introduction, that the vice president is on his way to the Senate floor right now. So we could have something happening next couple of hours. We don't know. But he has emphasized that, look, the bill's border security and immigration provisions outweigh fiscal concerns. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't want to see a 68% tax increase on the American people. You were on the Doge caucus. And so, you know, the criticism from many on both sides of the aisle has been that this doesn't do enough to cut spending, the Senate bill doesn't, and that it's adding to the deficit.
Yeah, this is so Cheryl, here we are about to pass a bill that has the largest mandatory spending cuts in American history. It's really important that we emphasize mandatory because we have not ever done that. And we have 1.6, almost 1.7 trillion in there. And that has to be done. And understand something, it has taken decades of spending to get us where we are today with this debt and deficit catastrophe. If we were to try to fix that overnight or even in a year or two, you could see a real problem and carnage across our nation to the economy. And what we want to do is bring this back in a more gradual way and make sure that we don't harm the small businesses and the middle and lower income taxpayers who benefited from the original Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Make sure we renew that, which is the most important part of this bill. This is what the Ways and Means Committee focused on. And right now, we have a long-term plan, which we need to do. Everybody, there's not a single Republican in the House or the Senate that doesn't think we need to cut spending and make sure that we do it. We can't do it overnight, but you have to understand something. These businesses that are all over, particularly my business, 95% of the people that go to work every day in my business, in my community, go to a small business. They're not going to a big, huge corporate entity. They don't get subsidies from government. They don't get, you know, what Elon Musk gets, you know, EV mandate reforms and excise tax money that goes to his business and government subsidies. They have to rely on the most expensive government in the United States, highest taxes, highest energy burden, you know, highest, or least on business-friendly state in the nation, and we've got to survive. And so I think what people are looking at is, yes, we need to cut spending, but you can't do it overnight, and we have to stay on this path. And this bill, though it's not perfect, does all those things in a 10-year plan. It should be a 20-year plan. We should continue to do this. We should never not do this. But remember something also. We have another shot at reconciliation. This is the end-all, be-all bill. This bill gets immediate relief to the things we need most. Mandatory spending, renewing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, making sure we unleash American energy, give the resources to the Border Patrol so they can continue to do their job, to stop wasting hundreds of billions of dollars on illegal immigrants who aren't eligible for Medicaid, by the way, and also upgrading and giving our military a chance to keep up with China and make sure we're ahead of them and make sure we're ahead of China on AI and things like that, to the point that we can do it. Remember, this is limited. We can only do so much in reconciliation because of the 60-vote margin and because of the parliamentarian rules and because of the Byrd rule. So we're kind of stuck and doing the best that we can in this very limited framework. Then we can go to appropriations, another reconciliation bill, and do standalone bills. There's a lot more time to do other things, but this gives the one thing we need more than anything, which is immediate relief to the middle and lower income taxpayers and small businesses. There are important provisions in this bill that have to be passed as soon as possible.
Once again, I just want to remind our viewers, we're looking live at the Senate floor, and I believe that's Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, unless my eyes are deceiving me. It's interesting, Congresswoman, because, and I think that's a very fair point that you make about small businesses and the fact that they're not getting some of the breaks that the larger industries will be. At the same time, a lot of talk about SALT. Obviously, you're in New York. I have to ask you about this. So they did reach, at this point, the GOP did, this tentative deal on the SALT tax deduction cap. So they raised it to $40,000. That's through 2029. After that, it falls back to $10,000. Your fellow New York colleague, Mike Lawler, he's saying this is a big win. Do you agree? Is this a win in your opinion?
Oh, yes. And this is actually interesting because it's something that we actually proposed on the Republican side of House Ways and Means. There's only two New Yorkers on the committee, me and Representative Nicole Maliotakis. And so there were a couple other sort of what we call people that are in the SALT caucus. Also on Ways and Means, we said, look, if you want to go to a higher number, let's phase it out earlier. And that's just what the Senate did. So that was something that works out for the New York SALT group. And look, my district doesn't really depend on SALT because we have a lower incomes, although we do have very high taxes in our region. Really, the important thing, again, is the small business numbers that matter so much in this bill. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're honing in on. And that's what has to get done. Because even though my district is 95% small businesses, across the country, it's 60 or 70%. And so most of the businesses are going to benefit from this. And if we take that away by not passing this bill, you're not going to see the growth that we need from the small business community. They're not going to invest. They're not going to have the certainty. They're not going to invest in capital. They're not going to add new jobs. They're not going to have the growth that we need. And that's why it's so important. And another part of this Medicaid that is, I'm just tired of hearing about the Democrats screaming that people are going to lose their health care. I've said this over and over. There are about 19 million people in the state of New York. 8 million are receiving Medicaid. About 5 million of those 8 million are actually eligible. So all we're doing is saying, let's strengthen the Medicaid program that is for the truly needy, people who have special needs, senior citizens who are stuck on fixed incomes that had to deal with inflation, people who have other issues that cannot, whether they have children or dependents and they need the Medicaid, not people who are able-bodied adults who we need, by the way, to go to work. If we're going to advance and grow our economy, we need people who are able-bodied without dependents to start going to work, to start contributing to the tax base, to start paying into Social Security so that we can keep that solvent in the future. And that's what we're looking for, is getting people off the dependency. And there's so many people that are on it, not to mention 4.6 million illegal immigrants receiving full Medicaid benefits from the federal taxpayers and state.
All right. Before you go, I've really got about 30 seconds with you. I've got a hard break, but really quick.
Sorry.
You recently sent a letter to Governor Hochul. You want answers on New York sanctuary state policies and the cost to New Yorkers. Real quickly, can you just update us here?
Yeah, she has not responded. I want to know how many criminal, dangerous, illegal immigrants are actually in our prisons, are within the confines of our state, and give me the numbers and how much we spent. She just went through the entire budget process in New York. You can't tell me that she doesn't know exactly how much we spend as a state and also what New York City spent on illegal immigrants. And I'm talking about dangerous, illegal gang members that are within the borders of New York.
Congresswoman
She hasn't
Claudia,
answered yet.
Yeah, no, as a New Yorker, I want those answers too. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a crucial morning for our nation. Appreciate your time. We'll be right back.
Thank you. Happy 4th to everyone.
All right, you too.